In this video, I'm going to give you my full card predictions for UFC 306. Hopefully, we can keep the hot streak going. As always, you can call me Kunith. Let's make some money this week. At the top of the card, we have Bantamweight Gold on the line. Sean O'Malley defending his title against Merab Dvalishvili. And normally, I present this information to you in a very specific way. I try to take you on a bit of a journey, give you a little bit of information about one guy, about the other, path to victory here, path to victory there, a little push and pull. And we do that for entertainment value, sometimes to add some much needed context to what we're talking about, because it's not always black and white, but I think this one is obvious. So I'm not going to do that this week. I'm going to tell you what side you need to be on. This fight is baby food for Sean O'Malley. Aljamain Sterling was a much tougher opponent, and we saw how he looked against him. We saw him fight at an absurd pace against Marlon Chito Vera in that first title defense, and based on what we've seen from both of these guys, I don't think there's a situation, I don't think there's a world, I don't think there's a reality where Sean O'Malley doesn't knock him out. We've seen Merab rocked before, rocked by Henry Cejudo, rocked by Marlon Moraes, and I know those videos are all over Twitter right now, but they're important. And to Merab's credit, he hasn't been knocked out yet, but he also hasn't seen a puncher like this before. And there's no secret to what Merab is going to be doing in this fight. He's looking to get this fight to the mat. He's going to shoot takedown after takedown after takedown, but we know that Sugar Sean does a good job of keeping his feet, and we also know what a fight looks like when Merab can't get a takedown. You look back on that fight against Jose Aldo where he wasn't able to get the takedowns he was looking for, and he ended up just holding Jose Aldo up against the cage for most of that fight. And on this card, in the Sphere, in front of this crowd, bangers up and down the card. Getting all the way to the main event, I don't think the crowd nor the ref is going to let him simply hold the champion up against the fence to win rounds. I don't think that's going to happen. And I can understand and appreciate the pace and the work rate, but I think that Sean O'Malley can go a hard 5 rounds here. I don't really know if he will need to, but I think that Sean O'Malley is going to come in here fully prepared for what Merab is planning to do. That's kind of what we always see from him. He always comes in fighting a good game plan. Rarely is he finding himself fighting from behind. Really, the only fight where we saw him pushed was against Petr Yan. So I expect the range, the length, the power, the lateral movement, the stance, all of that is going to create issues for the challenger in this one. And you look at Merab's record, no one's been as big as Sean O'Malley. So that size difference is going to take some time to get adjusted to. Plus, the size is going to allow Sean O'Malley to keep his hips further back. So Merab's going to have to cover a whole lot of ground to be able to get in deep on a takedown attempt. And in that time, I expect Sean O'Malley to intercept him with a big punch or even a knee up the middle, something to deter him from shooting for takedowns. And I don't think that naked shots are going to work against the champ either. And I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I think Sean O'Malley is unbeatable, because I do think that there are tough matchups at 135 pounds for him, and rankings be damned, I don't think this is one of them. So give me the size, the youth, the striking, the champion. Give me Sean O'Malley to win this fight by knockout and still. In the co-main event spot, Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko 3, the trilogy is upon us. Quick recap. In the first fight, Alexa Grasso surprises Shevchenko in round 1. The then challenger really came out swinging, and I think that caught Valentina Shevchenko by surprise, and that's why she dropped the round, because really nobody at 125 pounds has been able to effectively strike with her outside of maybe Joanna or Jacek. But Valentina Shevchenko is one of the best to ever do it, and what do the greats do? They adjust. So she makes the adjustments, and she leans on her wrestling in the second and the third round and wins both of those rounds, and looks like at that point she's in control of the fight. Even in round 4, it looked like Valentina Shevchenko was doing what she needed to do, even when they were striking, which was surprising because Alexa Grasso was getting the better of most of the striking exchanges up until that point. Valentina makes a grave error. Throws a spinning back kick to the body. PSA to fighters. I'm going to say it every time it's relevant. Stop spinning. Save the spinning for dizzy bad field day. Keep it out of the octagon because it creates mistakes, and Alexa Grasso takes advantage of that mistake, jumps on her back, sinks in a rear naked choke that wasn't even on the neck but was about to make Valentina's head pop. Ridiculously tight submission, ends up winning her the title, so they gotta run it back. Of course, you give a champion of that caliber, of Shevchenko's level, you gotta give him the rematch. They have the rematch. The rounds are very easy to score in my opinion. You go back and watch it. Valentina Shevchenko very clearly wins the first and the third round. Alexa Grasso very clearly wins the second and the fifth round. The fourth round is where things got a little dicey. It was kind of up for grabs. Really could have went either way, but the fight ends in a draw because one judge gives Alexa Grasso a 10-8 in the fifth round, which is a bad scorecard. If he scored it accurately, it's 10-9, and Valentina Shevchenko wins a split decision on the cards. So strange stuff between these two, and normally you guys know the rule on the channel. We're going to call them for what they are. So was that a win for Valentina Shevchenko last time out instead of a draw? Sure it was. But the score is settled this week over 25 minutes with a third fight. I don't think there's a situation at all where we would see a fourth fight between these two, and I kind of have my reasons for that, which I'll talk about in just a second here. But you got to understand, this fight one will go the distance. So it's going to come down to who is going to win more rounds, and that's where we get to our second point. If they're on the mat, it's because Valentina Shevchenko got the fight there and she's going to win the round. But if they spend a majority of the round on the feet, or at least the part of the round that's more important, and I say more important because they could be back and forth. Valentina Shevchenko could fall behind on the feet a little bit, and then she gets a takedown with a minute left and is able to stay on top, and all of a sudden she wins the round. But if they are striking for most of the round, and more importantly, if they're striking for the significant piece of the round, the back half of the round, Alexa Grasso is going to win those rounds. I think she has Valentina's number on the feet. And for that reason, I like the champ to defend her title here, because from a preparation standpoint, I think it's going to be easier for her to improve her takedown defense, get up game, possible submissions off of her back if she is taken down, and time is on her side. 31 years old. Valentina Shevchenko's reaching UNC status at 36 years old. In their first fight, she was 34. She's getting up there. On top of that, Alexa Grasso's had 20 pro fights under her belt, while Valentina Shevchenko's had 28, which isn't that much more, but when you also look at the countless kickboxing fights that she's had along the way, that really starts to add up. And I expect Valentina Shevchenko to retire after this fight. I have not looked into it. I don't know if that's the plan. If it is, let me know in the comments if you've heard that somewhere. I haven't looked into it, but I fully believe that Valentina Shevchenko retires after this fight on a loss. Meanwhile, Alexa Grasso's in her fighting prime, holding a belt in the biggest MMA organization in the world. She's a Mexican superhero, and she's fighting at Noche UFC. The stars are aligned for Alexa Grasso to not only win this fight, but look good doing it and erase all the doubt that might have been caused by the second fight between these two. So give me the younger fighter, the champion, more and still for your moms. Give me Alexa Grasso to win this fight by decision. And before we look at the next fight, real quick, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm, and if you want, become a channel member. Do you get anything for it? Not really. I have some fun emojis in there that I made, like the burger list, Oscar, the let's make some money this week, the underdogs emoji, and I'll be able to add to that, and you get like the belt system, like you get your first month, you're a white belt, after a while it goes up to blue, all the way up to red. So if you want to show your loyalty in the chat, things like that, go for it. And when we start live streaming, it's going to be members only live streaming, and those are getting folded into the mix as we get into the colder months. But if you click the little join button, it's $4.99 a month, just another way to support the channel. So if you don't want to go all the way to the website, pay all that money, even though we're kind of printing it over there, I get it, I understand. So if you want another way to support the channel, you can do that by grabbing a membership. You can see the little join button that should be somewhere down there. Now for this next fight, we are looking at Brian Ortega. He's fighting Diego Lopes. I've broken this down on the channel before. I feel no differently than I did the first time. So Oscar, go ahead and pull that footage, drop it right here. We have a banger, probably the most intriguing matchup on the card between Diego Lopes and Brian Ortega. Both these guys are coming off the best wins of their respected careers. T-City straight up took Yair Rodriguez's lunch money last time out, where he showed off that crazy toughness he's known for, and he dominated the fight on the mat like he has done against so many other fighters throughout his career. Now on the other side, Diego Lopes is coming off of a crazy knockout win over Super Sadiq Youssef. And we talked about this last time we broke Diego Lopes down. The guy's captured some magique. He's got the sauce right now. 3 straight first round finishes at featherweight is damn near unheard of, and I don't think that's ever happened inside the UFC. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think anybody in the UFC at featherweight is putting together first round finishes like that outside of maybe Conor McGregor. And not only is he finishing these fights early, but he's doing it in more ways than one. He's not somebody who's overly reliant on big punching power. He's not overly reliant on his great jiu-jitsu. He's somebody who can blend the two together nicely to make him dangerous anywhere that the fight goes. And Brian Ortega is dangerous as well, but he doesn't offer that same kind of early upside. He is patient. He does settle into the fight. He takes what the opponents give him. He snatches up submissions in a flash, but typically it's in the later rounds. So this one's tough, and it's really hard to go the other way when it comes to Diego Lopes because he's been so fantastic since his debut, even in his debut. He's putting Movsar Evloev in several tricky positions. It looks like he's about to end the fight or grab up a submission or at least get close to making Movsar very uncomfortable. But here's the thing, those are the moments that stand out to us. That's how we remember it, but you go back and you watch the fight and you see them for what they are. They are moments, but the rounds, even with the moments, still belong to Movsar Evloev. So I don't want to give him too much credit for the debut loss, but he did do well against somebody who's one of the best fighters in the division today. So while I respect the Lopes game because it's impossible not to, and while I respect the confidence needed for that haircut, Brian Ortega is an eagle sharpening his beak. He's been at the top of the division for years now, and when you look at some of of the guys that he's faced, like Frankie Edgar, Moicano, Cub Swanson, Holloway, Korean Zombie, Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez twice. He's competed at a crazy high level for a very long time, and it's hard for me to see Diego Lopes, one, knocking him out, and it's even harder for me to see him being submitted. And I think the style that Lopes fights with is going to be one where he's taking a lot of risks and he's slowing down as fights go on because he's fighting at a crazy pace. And to beat Brian Ortega, you got to minimize those risks. You have to make as few mistakes as possible, and you've got to have serious toughness and cardio, because if you don't have those things, it's bad biscuits. And if we look at the last fight against Yair Rodriguez and how dominant that performance was after the first round, kind of wipes away the injury loss to him. It was a bit fluky. So you look, the only guys that he's ever lost to are Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. So unless you think Diego Lopes will have his spot on the Mount Rushmore of UFC featherweights, then T-City is probably the side. So give me the experience, give me the toughness, give me the grappling, give me Brian Ortega to win this fight inside the distance, probably in the third round. Next, we're looking at a fight between Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovics, a ridiculous fight at 155 pounds. Very good matchmaking. This is going to be fun for however long it lasts. Winning streaks on both sides. Both guys are looking to strike, put damage on their opponents right away. Daniel Zellhuber coming off of a 3-fight winning streak. He touched up groovy Lando Venata, wrapped up a submission over Christos Giagos, and really put a beating on Francisco Prado in a fight that absolutely should have been stopped when Francisco Prado told his corners, hey, I can't see. And like, you hit him with your can't see. But he mollywops him for 2 rounds straight. Really didn't even need a third round, although that ended up being Francisco Prado's best round, so who knows. But I think that Daniel Zellhuber is fantastic, man. And I think the same thing about Esteban Ribovics on the other side. The guy's a junkyard dog. And he showed that last time out where he took some of the best shots coming from Terrence McKinney, because that Terrence McKinney early offense, say what you want about the guy, say what you want about his win-loss, say what you want about his career, that first minute from Terrence McKinney is about as hard to deal with as anybody's attack in the sport. Ate some big shots from T-Rex, but ultimately sent him to a place where time doesn't exist with a nasty head kick. A lot to like about Esteban Ribovics, and a guy who's absolutely going to fight for your money. And both of these guys, they dropped their UFC debut in different ways. Esteban Ribovics got out-wrestled in a war, while Daniel Zellhuber just kind of looked like a deer in the headlights. The moment was too big. We called Trey Ogden in that one, and we haven't went against Daniel Zellhuber since, because he's got it. The skills are there. And I really, again, like both of these guys. I really like the grittiness and the power coming from Ribovics. I think he knocks a lot of people out at 155 pounds, but I don't think that Daniel Zellhuber is one of them. Because what jumps off the page to me about Daniel Zellhuber is how smooth he is. He moves really well. He can put damage on you in a hurry, and he's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage. So he's far and away the biggest and most polished striker that Esteban Ribovics has ever seen. So I like Daniel Zellhuber to look good here. And maybe he doesn't get the finish because Esteban Ribovics is tougher than the last page of a math test, but he should style on him on his way to a decision win. I think that Daniel Zellhuber puts on a show. Give me Zellhuber to win this fight by decision. And Daniel Zellhuber is somebody we're probably going to be betting on KunithMMA.com this week. Had a very strong week last week, and I'm not going to take up too much time in the video. I'm going to put it at the end. So after the last prediction, if you stick around, I'll kind of do a bit of a site tour so you can see what I'm talking about each week, because some of you have never opened it, or you don't have access to the stuff, so you don't know what it looks like, so you don't know what you're buying. But we'll get back to the breakdown. If you want all the Kunith MMA stuff, like the official betting article, DFS strategy guide, things like that, linked in the description, just stick around to the end of the video. Next, we have a fight between Rolando Rodriguez. He's fighting Osbourne this week. The line is surprising to me. After we saw what Rolando Rodriguez looked like in his UFC debut, I expected him to be minus 200 here, and he might be by the time fight time rolls around. Got his hand raised in the UFC debut, got the finish, put on a very gritty performance because he was eating some clean shots early from Denise Bondar, got taken down over and over again, and none of that seemed to matter. He took his best strikes, he scrambled effectively when he was on the mat, never really accepted a bottom position, or rather a bad position, and he really forced Bondar to work, and I can see him doing the same thing to Osbourne, who doesn't have the best cardio. So if this fight gets extended, I think that Osbourne starts to fall apart late second, third round, and that's where he's going to give up bad positions like he has in his last 2 fights. He's gotten his back taken, gotten submitted from those positions, and that's how Rodriguez won his last fight, so I could see that happening again. And to be fair to he's had a really tough stretch in the UFC, and I'm not talking about guys like Jerome Rivera and Zaruk Adeshev, but I am talking about the Manel Kops of the world. CJ Vergara, who's a tough fight for anybody, Tyson Nam, who packs a wallop, Charles Johnson, Asu Almabayev, Jafel Filio. These are excellent fighters, and you can argue that almost all of them, if not all of them, might be better fighters than Rodriguez. So I love the level of competition that we've seen from Osbourne, but as far as the skill set goes and what he's looked like recently, there's nothing that makes me think that he's going to win this fight. Ronaldo Rodriguez is the type of fighter that you need to beat cleanly over 3 rounds. He's not going to be finished, and he's not going to stop pressing forward. And I don't think that Osbourne has the skill set to slow somebody like that down. I don't think he has the grappling skills to control Rodriguez on the mat for extended periods of time. I don't think he has the striking ability to outstrike him over 15 minutes. I think that Rodriguez is going to march him down, eat some good shots early from O'Day, but he's going to take one to give one. That's his style, and he rolls with it really well. Dominic Cruz alluded to this, I think, in his debut. The dude's fought a lot for his age, not only as a professional fighter, but also on the amateur level. So when he gets hit, nothing seems to bother him, and not because you fight for a long time and you get some kind of iron chin. I'm not stupid. But what happens is you start to learn how to roll with these punches. You understand that you go play in the rain, you're going to get wet, and I think that he's got a very good feel for, let this guy hit me, I absorb it with my whole body, I move with it, and then I bring it back. So again, I think he's going to take one to give one. I think that Osbourne's going to find himself on wobbly legs maybe more than once here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened early. The line ain't wide enough. Give me Ronaldo Rodriguez to win this fight inside the distance. Next we have a fight between Irene Aldana. She's fighting Norma Dumont. I've gone back and forth on this one a lot because you can make the case for either side. Aldana, yes, the better striker, fights at a stronger pace, especially in front of this crowd that's going to be on her side, probably, if they could fill the arena. But she struggled with grapplers, and Norma Dumont could easily ground Aldana in this fight, control her for minutes on end, and win rounds as a result, because Dumont is much better on the mat, knows how to stay heavy on top, and we've seen fighters like Amanda Nunes, Macy Chasson, Holly Holm do good work against Aldana when they are able to land takedowns. That's where Norma Dumont wins, and for me, that's all I really needed to put my stamp of approval on her to win this fight. But the more that I look at it, the more I have to question my process, because that's part of my process, challenge my own takes, because if my first thought is Norma Dumont's going to wrestle her way to victory, I have to say, well, who has she done that to? And you start to look at this win streak that she's put on since losing to Macy Chasson. It's an old boxer in Danielle Wolf, who was in her second MMA fight ever. Carol Hoza, who did more damage, clearly won the striking exchanges and was battering Norma Dumont in the 3rd round. Chelsea Chandler, who probably isn't UFC caliber, and an old one-dimensional, fresh off of a baby GDR with ring rust. I'm taking Irene Aldana over all of them. Plus, Aldana comes to fight. She finishes fights. Dumont has no finishes in the UFC. She goes to war. She gets performance bonuses. She's got 5 of them in the UFC. Norma Dumont's got a big goose egg. She lands way more strikes. She's fighting out of a better gym around better competition. She's fought better fighters throughout her UFC career, and even if she is taken down and controlled for most of the round, if she gets back up, she can steal around pretty easily with 1 or 2 big moments. Norma Dumont's kind of fallen into that category where you don't feel like anything's happening while she's fighting, and that's a problem. So I'm going to take the more exciting fighter, the better striker, the more dangerous fighter of the two. Give me Irene Aldana to win this fight by decision. Next, we have the best fight on the card, bar none. This was a fight that I called for on Twitter months ago. Manuel Torres fighting Ignacio Bahamondes. Wild fight, going to deliver for sure, however long it lasts. Probably not that long. Manuel Torres, as you can see on the screen, 15-2, 14 finishes, all in the first round. He's won all 3 of his UFC fights in the first round, and he is a storm in those first few minutes. He's coming at you full speed, letting his hands go, and he sees dudes crumble in front of him. And the line for this one has swung. You saw Torres as a pretty decent underdog at open, and now he's the favorite. So if you got early action on him, you're probably feeling pretty good about that CLV, while on the other side, you might start thinking, is there some value on Ignacio Bahamondes? You gotta respect that Ignacio Bahamondes is a handful for anybody. Super tall and rangy for the weight class. We've seen guys struggle against him because of that size. Knows how to use that length, knows how to fight on the outside, throws great kicks at every level. We've seen him finish fights with his kicks, like that wheel kick against Roosevelt Roberts at the end of the 3rd round, or even his last fight where he just dropped Christos Giagos with a super clean high kick. And at this point, that win over Trey Ogden, it's aging like wine, right? Because Trey Ogden keeps winning. You just have to worry about how hittable he is. He leaves his head right on the center line. And while his chin hasn't failed him yet, you worry that a massive puncher like Manuel Torres is going to be able to crack him, and he's not just going to be able to roll with it. And for Torres, I think he can make it look really easy by doing what he does best. pressure, pace, power. What gives me a little bit of pause, however, is we know that Bahamondes can fight at a high pace for 3 rounds, but Torres, he's only got that initial blitz in my opinion. And I know you can't really speculate what a guy's cardio looks like, this, and that. Yes, you can. So these are big red flags for me because I think he has a 3-minute window to win this fight. And this isn't Frank Camacho, who's been knocked out many times before. This isn't Nicholas Mata, who was given up size and has been knocked out in nearly every career loss. Nicholas Mata, in the beginning stages of that fight, was touching Manuel Torres up and exposed some defensive flaws that he has. He leaves his head way up there. Bahamondes is a junkyard dog, and he's going to make you fight. He's going to force you into a dog fight, and this is really uncharted territory for Torres. 1, going to war potentially, and 2, having to deal with a bigger man. He's normally enjoying a size advantage. He's actually giving up size here, and Bahamondes is not the kind of guy to wait on you and wait to counter. He's going to throw volume out there as well, so I think the pace is going to be absurd, and that's where I think Manuel Torres has problems. He might struggle to close that distance. He's getting his body chewed up with teep kicks, and if you want to get like 2-way action on this, I would take Manuel Torres first round, and maybe not first round knockout, maybe not first round submission, just first round, which should have hit last week on the prop of the week with Isaac Dulgarian round 1, but Isaac Dulgarian decided that he wanted to just play with his food a little bit. Boring. But if you want to put yourself in a position where you got a good chance at cashing no matter who wins, you could take Bahamondes as well as taking Manuel Torres round 1. Bahamondes inside the distance, that is. But if you've watched this channel for a while, you know I have to make a choice here. And La Huala is someone that we would follow into battle, right? Give me the size, give me the UFC experience, give me the underdog, give me Ignacio Bahamondes to win this fight inside the distance. Next, we have a fight between Yazmin Jauregui and Ketlen Souza. This is the easiest button you're going to click all week when you put Yazmin Jauregui into your parlays. She's a beast. She proved that really against Sam Hughes at elevation. Some people think she's on the juice. If so, pour me a glass. She should make it look easy against Souza this week, who's looking to throw heat, looking to throw a lot of hooks, but she's going to be whiffing on these strikes pretty regularly. And Yazmin Jauregui's just going to keep working, keep popping her head back with straight punches, and she's going to be disrupting that rhythm as a result. Both fighters want to strike, obviously, but the comparison that I can make is that Souza is striking doing times tables while Jauregui is doing algebra. You get me? I think that Yazmin Jauregui wins this fight. I think she gets her out of there with her punches. Give me Jauregui to win by knockout. Next, we have a fight between Edgar Chairez. He's fighting Joshua Van. Interesting featherweight fight. You got Edgar Chairez, who was supposed to fight Kevin Borjas on this one. Probably would have looked damn good against Borjas. Now he gets a much tougher challenge on his hands with Joshua Van. Van coming off a loss. We picked against him last time out in his fight with Charles Johnson because it was a really big step up in competition. Van is a striker. We haven't really seen anybody outstrike Charles Johnson in the UFC. Van had success early, like many of us expected him to, but Johnson just stayed on him. Came out swinging in the 3rd round, knocked him out, got him out of there. Now for Chairez, he's had a strange year, right? He fought Daniel Lacerda, had him in what looked like a choke to the ref. Ref stops the fight prematurely, so they got to run it back. Sure, but then the fight gets canceled. So now you're kind of wondering, if you're Edgar Chairez, is the juice worth the squeeze? I kind of already beat you, but I didn't beat you, and now we can't get on the same page. A mess. But they end up rescheduling. They end up actually fighting. He gets the definitive finish. He does it with finality, right? Chokes him out in the 1st round. That chapter is finally behind him. And now, of course, being a solid fighter out of Mexico, they're going to put him on this card. What I like for him is that he's coming in on a full camp. He was looking forward to this date, and for those reasons, plus the skill set, I think he gets it done. I really don't like that Joshua Van has taken this fight on short notice, and I don't like that he was knocked out just 60 days ago. I think this would be a tough opponent for him, even if he was in on a full camp. And I say that because Chairez has power, he's tricky on the mat, and he's a veteran. He doesn't have the best resume, but I think if he goes out there and gets it done, I think that a lot of people start to question whether or not Joshua Van should have took the fight. But I would end up agreeing with that, because you shouldn't have took the fight, not this close. You don't need to rush back. You've got so much time. You've got so much career ahead of you. There's really no point, especially against a tricky guy like this in this situation. I'll take the dog here. I'll take the fighter with more ways to win, because I think if this fight hits the mat, Van is in trouble. Give me the guy that's also coming in on a full camp. Give me Edgar Chairez to win this fight by submission. And for this next fight, Raul Rosas Jr. is minus 700. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Now I'll show you what's going on the website. So this is what the first page of the website looks like. If you come down here where it says get free betting picks and tips, and you fill out your information right here, which you really only need to put your email in there if you wanted to, you're good. You put that in there, you're going to get your prop of the week email that we put out every single week. That's completely for free. Now, if you want access to everything, you go up here to plans. You can see the pricing plan. This is just the lineup optimizer. If you want the lineup optimizer and everything else, you come right here to total access. Bada bing. The lineup optimizer is as follows. So here you would come here, be able to use the lineup optimizer. I don't have it loaded with projections yet. That comes later in the week. Here is where I actually put all of the data and projections. So if you ever wanted to come in here, poke around, I know a lot of you that use the site go to the data model because I put like landed takedowns, significant strikes, like projections for these things. I put them in there and you use those when you're building on like Underdog Fantasy or Prize Picks, things like that. If you go to the blog section, that's where I put the official betting article for the week and the DFS strategy guide. Official betting article of the week looked like this last week. Actually was not profitable for the first time in I think the last 3 or 4 weeks. We had Nathan Fletcher. He came through for us. We had Andre Petrosky by submission, missed. Jacqueline Amarim, she hit for us. Isaac Dolgarian, round 1, come on, brother. Yanal Ajmo's got it done with ease, and then Natalia Silva really shouldn't have done this. So this is my fault. So we were down, I think, 2 units overall, or just under 2 units. As for the DFS strategy guide, just take a look at what we did last week on the DFS strategy guide. Basically a perfect read, right? Here are your cash game plays: Isaac Dolgarian, Andre Lima, Chris Padilla. He's the only other underdog that I mentioned on this. Only other underdog, and he got it done. And I did put on the community tab on YouTube and on Twitter that Chris Padilla was going to win, right? Jacqueline Amarim as your premium play, smash. Nathan Fletcher in the mid-range, smash. Yanal Ajmo's, smash. The fight you needed to target, Steve Garcia or Kyle Nelson, Steve Garcia, smash, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of the optimal lineup in the DFS strategy guide last week. Last thing I'll show you here is the community tab. And here's what the community tab looked like. Christian G, shout out to Christian G, by the way, because he put this in the chat. These are the same post, a duplicate post, but we take a look here at what he did last week. I'm going to scroll down. Natalia Silva, Jacqueline Amarim, Andre Petrosky, Usman Nurmagomedov, Nathan Fletcher, 600, pays out over 3 racks, and he hit that, and he gave that to everybody else that was on the site, so good on ya. And then here was the PRP for last week. Dolgarian, Amarim, Silva at the top. You place this, then you add this to place this, then you add this to place this, you add this to place this, you add this to place this. So that means that we had essentially a clean sweep outside of Matt Schnell, but we also hit 11 out of the 12 at plus 1300 odds. A lot of you guys smacked that. Even Brother Carter down here put 5 on it, got 600 out. Good for you. This is the 3rd time in the 3rd year that we've done this. This is the kind of stuff that could potentially make your year from a betting perspective if you go heavy enough, right? So we've done that 3 times now, 3 years on the channel. It's still early. It's only September. We got some more time. We got time to hit it again. All of that could be found on kunithmma.com. $24.99 a month. If you're betting, you probably have $24.99 a month. So if you want to support the channel, connect with these people each and every week, it gets a little bit bigger. More people are in the chat. More people are in the comment section, the community tab. We help each other, as you saw with Christian in there. Totally up to you. Try it for a month. If it works, great. I know some people said, hey, I paid for my membership for the year last week, so I'll be here for at least another year. Awesome. And if you try it for a month and you don't like it, whatever. But totally up to you. Linked in the description and in a pinned comment. Really appreciate it if you stuck around. Speak. That is all for me. I will have a final picks video later in the week. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later.